There we go.
Okay, hello. My name's Alan Friesen. This show is called H3 Health, Hope, and Happiness. I do not know where Brother Scott Sweetman is tonight, but I'm sure he'll join us. He's just got a little delay, perhaps. But we have Dan Erickson back for part number 2. We had a great episode last week. We learned tons about energy healing. Dan's a very talented practitioner, and we're going to continue on that vein. And Dan's going to share with you some easy, simple things you can do to help restore your energy balance. Is that right, Dan?
That's right.
Perfect. All right, carry on. Let's get at her again, and I'm looking forward to what I'm going to learn from you again, my friend.
So just a recap, biofield energy therapies is the title of all of those type of therapies like Reiki and healing touch and pranic healing. I'm a pranic healing specialist, and how it works is that your body, your physical body, has a energy field, and disease comes when that field gets disrupted or the energies in your body don't flow in a certain way, which kind of makes sense to a lot of people. So one of the things that we're going to talk a little bit more about is how our biofield actually works and what can be influenced or how it can be hurt or damaged. So some of the areas it can be damaged is through energy, through chemicals, through emotions, through genetics. All of these things can have an effect on our biofield. So like
when you said energy, Dan, you're not meaning energy we create, but energy we are exposed to, like EMFs or something.
Both. So I was going to ask you what you might think of one is, and you just said EMF.
Yeah.
So EMFs can disrupt our energy flow. An example is you had a BlackBerry on your hip for 10 years, and then you developed cancer in your bone, or you had it tucked into your pocket and you developed cancer up here. So what is there a relationship? That EMF from the cell phone might have damaged your energy field and damaged the cells in your body. So it doesn't matter. What happened was you got sick. What we believe in is that the energy field, the energy flow was disrupted, and the energy of the cells were affected. So sometimes other effects can be emotional. And, we talked about this before, Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk, where he talks about the body keeping the score. Well, what does that mean? You've dealt with emotions before, and you know that they affect you. So what's an example, Alan, do you think, of an event that might affect your biofield energy?
Well, I think this is how it works, and you can, guide me if I don't have it right. But with Gabor Mate, he talks about, attachment versus authenticity. That those are two basic fundamental needs we have. And
Right.
then if we have to, we will compromise our authenticity to keep attachment, right?
Yes.
Because the attachment with our mom or our dad or our caregiver is so crucial to our survival that we will go with that. So if as a young person we have an experience where we felt like criticized to our core or made to believe that there was something broken in us or unlovable, or that, and then holding on to that program, continuing to run that program, just causes us all kinds of negative health manifestations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Absolutely. Good. So, for example, if that resulted in you feeling not good enough, and it doesn't matter what you could do, and you still never felt good enough, that can go to certain parts of your body. I've had clients where that went into parts of their body, like a kidney, for example, and they developed kidney problems. I've had clients that have had their front solar plexus is our emotional storekeeper of a lot of issues. And that can result, and your navel chakra, that can result in a lot of digestive and stomach problems. So, and that's pretty regular. People will have upset stomachs because of emotional issues. So, an underlying theme of all of this is some form of trauma. And trauma can manifest as a really powerful negative energy, and it can sit somewhere for a long period of time. And if it doesn't get dealt with, it can affect things like I've had a client that their blood pressure was affected from trauma. Their emotional balance was affected by trauma. And you see that with people who develop mental health issues, where that negative energy grows to the point where this might seem a little bit bizarre, but it develops an element of consciousness because you're feeding it all the time, where you say, I'm not good enough. And you're doing something, and this voice inside you speaks to you and says, what are you thinking? You can't do this. You're not good enough. It's that subconscious. Well, what we've done is we've given energy to that emotion, and it stays within us. We call this pranic psychotherapy.
And we're feeding that emotion. We're feeding that negative emotion by repeating that pattern. Yeah. Okay.
And that's what therapy and that's what group work and other types of things are, is to get that emotion out, to acknowledge it, deal with it, and counter it because it's unhealthy. Those type of emotions can affect our mental and physical and emotional well-being, and even our spiritual well-being. You know, I've talked about this before. We're all on a path of spiritual development. And spiritual development for me is just my connection to the universe. How is that growing? How is my perception? And how is my understanding of how everything works growing? So the more I'm introduced to, the more I learn. And that's why you end up being a continuous learner if you're on a spiritual path, because you'll never figure it all out. There's always something more to learn.
No kidding. Exactly. Yeah. There's not an end date. You say, okay, I've learned it all. I'm done. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So no.
Yeah, there's no such thing as being perfectly enlightened. It's enlightenment means that you're ready to learn more. So
yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So biofield therapies are very interesting in that if you can manage them, you can affect the energy flow in your body. So we've talked about things like yoga and Tai Chi and other practices, which has an effect on our energy body. And what it does sometimes is removes blockages or helps the flow move better. Well, there's other things that we can do. Some of them are related to the way we manage our bodies and our systems. And the easiest one and the quickest one anybody can do immediately is breathing. Breathing is a unconscious action. You know, you might go through weeks and weeks and you would have never even thought once about breathing. But you can control your breathing, and you can control your parasympathetic response on how your body manages itself just through breathing. And so people like Wim Hof and other breathing experts have developed techniques, and they teach these regularly now to professionals like firefighters and Navy SEALs and other people on how to manage their heart rates and their composure by doing something called box breathing. That's the very simplest form. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold it for 4 seconds. And you continue this cycle until you feel your heartbeat goes down. You'll develop a sense of calm, and you'll be able to focus a little bit because you are now controlling how your body breathes and reacts. So it's a calming mechanism. They've taught this to children, and they have seen really good results in kids being able to calm themselves and recognizing that something's out of whack or that they're hyper or they're emotional, and they've used this technique to help regain some composure. So box breathing is very popular, but so are many, many other types of breathing techniques.
So, do you want to demonstrate a box breathing thing? I mean, you described it already, but do you want
Sure.
to demonstrate? Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we'll practice. So let's
Sure.
breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just doing that for 2 cycles. It has a
It's delicious. It feels great, right? You know, and just being conscious of that breath, just those few breaths, that's amazing.
So the technique that I use for my meditation, and this might be helpful for anybody who does meditation. I do a breathing exercise before I start my meditation, and I use the 6-3-6-3 method. I breathe in for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
I was watching you guys. I was locked out. I was on the wrong link.
Oh,
Alan usually puts the date in, but this one he didn't. So I was on like 2 old links. But I was listening. I was saying hi, guys, and thumbs up. I was doing the box breathing with you, Dan. Sorry. So I was there in spirit.
Sorry about that if I sent you the wrong link.
No. I just had to find the right one.
So, yeah, so you did the box breathing, and now Dan was just talking about, what is it, a 3-6-9? Is that what you called it?
No, it's a 6-3-6-3 version. That's
Yeah.
almost like a rectangle then.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's many variations. I do a whole bunch of advanced pranayama breathing techniques. And after 5 minutes, I'm already in a meditative state. And my body is incredibly calm, and I'm just ready to go into my meditation. But the 6-3-6-3, the thing about the box breathing is that it might annoy some people depending on your personality type after a while. And so to change it up, you don't even necessarily have to count, but I find counting distracts you from your other thoughts. So my mind is busy counting. Don't distract me with what I have to do in an hour. So I like counting sometimes.
You mentioned that the box breathing came from special forces.
Yeah.
And just recently I took a tactical trauma course, and they were talking about that, the GenSet Forge Concept training. They teach a lot of recruits, and they said some people just have trouble with the box breathing idea and struggle with it. So they had one where you breathe in for 4, and then you push a little harder. They had talked to a respiratory specialist that said you actually have to push a little bit, and then they breathe out for 4. So it's just, they don't have to worry about this. It's just in for 4, 2 more after that, and then slow out. And everyone seemed to be able to do that one without any stress. I don't know why sometimes the box breathing one can be a little bit.
Yeah. So if you go on YouTube, for example, and you look up breathing for stress reduction, you'll find great breathing techniques. There's so many out there. It's really good to find one that you might enjoy.
Yeah, one that aligns with you, resonates with you, right? That you are comfortable with. Tell me the 6-3-6-3. So an inhale for 6, a hold for 3, an exhale for 6, and then an inhale for 3.
Yeah. No. Breathe in for 6, hold for 3, breathe out for 6, hold for 3.
Right.
Breathe to hold.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason is once you develop some lung capacity, you might want to really breathe in deeply, because one of the things we don't do as adults is we don't breathe through our belly. You watch kids breathe, they breathe through their tummy. We breathe through our upper chest. And that's why a lot of times we're not getting enough oxygen. And taking a deep breath helps us get a little bit more air, a little bit more oxygen. And that's why the breathing technique is also good. It's forcing you to take in a little bit more than you might be used to. because our normal intake is just a second or two sometimes.
A lot of
Right.
technology we've talked about on the show before, like I use an oxygen meter all the time now, because that was why I ended up in comas, because my respiratory system shut down. And since then, I've had to really work on trying to drive my breath deeper. And having an oximeter, they're cheap now, like under $20 to go on the end of your finger. You don't have to buy a $600 smartwatch, but it does give a really good indication of what's going into your bloodstream, and it shows how just that deep breathing can increase that in a very clear
Well, Scott, you had a situation a couple months ago when your ox levels were like what, 47 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I had I thought I was going fine I was sleeping with my CPAP, but I hadn't had my CPAP adjusted in quite a long time. And by luck, I was sleeping with an Apple Watch, and I'd wake up with a horrible headache and exhausted, and it felt terrible. And so I started looking on my watch, and yeah, my oxygen level was going down to like 46, 47 for multiple times during the evening, which is, of course, when bad things start happening to your brain, right? So.
That is actually, I never thought about measuring oxygen capacity energetically and measuring people's ability, because if you have insomnia, for example, and it's due to that, so there you can measure that. I can measure that energetically. So thank you for that. That's another little tool in my arsenal.
Yeah, they unfortunately, I can't, especially when I'm asleep, measure it energetically. And I wouldn't want you to have to stand there over me when I was sleeping. But yeah, a lot of watches nowadays, even cheaper ones, have an ox meter in them.
Yeah. Well, you can, there's different types of measurements. You can do it on an average, or you can do it at its lowest, at its highest. That's why I love energy. It will, if you say, place me into this moment of time, what's happening here. So energy doesn't lie. That's the other thing I've been told, and I found pretty true. It's just making sure your reading is correct and you're not being influenced by your emotions. Yeah. So
would you say that breath is energy, or that it's
yes. Yes. Yeah. There are 3 types of prana is air prana.
Right.
And so when we breathe air in, it has a significant impact on us. In our lungs, our right side has 3 minor chakras and our left side has 2 minor chakras. That manages our airflow. So when somebody has a breathing problem, one of the things I do is I go in and clean their lungs, and making sure all of those 5 chakras are operating at its peak efficiency. So, and I've recently had some clients who've had a lung problem and worked on them for 3 or 4 days, and they recovered completely. And they went to go check it out, and their doctor was a little shocked and said, wow, that you recovered really quickly, miraculously. And that's what the other thing I like about energy healing is that it can have really good results quickly. I don't want anybody to get the idea that energy healing is a panacea and that if you do it, you're going to get perfect results all the time. Because what you're doing is you're influencing the body to recover. And sometimes there's things in your body, that processes that have been the result of many, many years of difficulty, and expecting them to recover in a few days or even a few weeks is unrealistic. Sometimes it takes 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. For example, regenerating discs and ligaments. That's a long process. Regenerating nerves, that's a long process. So, but anything that you can do to help the body recover faster through supporting itself to do the work efficiently it's like fine-tuning an engine, making it run at its peak efficiency. That's the philosophy. So we've talked about breathing having an impact on your biofield energy. We talked about EMFs having an impact on your biofield energy. We've talked that your emotions can have an impact on your biofield energy. But there's environmental things that can have an impact. One of the things that has a great impact is trees. and grass. So if you want to get some quick energy, go sit in some trees. Trees offer their energy freely. And if you're open to absorbing it, in Japan, they call it forest bathing, where you go out into nature and you absorb nature. My Aboriginal elder teachers would do that regularly to recover from the work that they have done. They'd go into nature and they would regenerate. Maybe take a day or two and boom, they're back to helping people again. So there's lots of other things we can do, but there's things that can influence us positively and negatively. For example, crystals. Crystals can affect people. So crystals have, well, this is a little controversial. They have an element of consciousness. And so they're programmable. And things can be done with them to help with certain things. And people use crystals quite frequently. It's an emerging area of interest for lots of people.
I don't think it should be so controversial, because memory chips are crystal, right? They're silicon crystal. Yeah. And so it's written with electric energy. And we're talking about here is a type of energy, right?
Correct.
So it's not unreasonable to think that you could write or program a crystal. We do it all the time, just using a field of energy more of us are familiar with, right?
Well, I use crystals all the time to help me. If I've got 10 clients, I will have a crystal program to help me clean out somebody's energy into a receptacle area. And this is what it looks like.
The crystal?
The crystal.
Wait a second. Okay. I see it now.
I win. I could see it without going up to the computer. There's a lot of online sales of crystals and things, and they're, really inexpensive. I don't want to say cheap, but does it matter the quality of the crystal, do you think? Is it?
Yeah. So the one I just showed you was clear quartz, the highest quality with no defects or cracks or anything like that. And it's shaped in a certain way to help be efficient for what I asked it to do. But there's other crystals, and you don't have to have high quality crystals for it to do anything. But when I hold this crystal in my hand, what this does, for example, is make my palm chakra twice as big. It goes from 3 feet to 5 feet, for example, or 2 feet to 4 feet. Crystals can make our chakras bigger, our energy field bigger. If, I've been in places where I've been around a giant crystal that was like 3 or 4 feet wide, a crystal ball. And I couldn't stay in the room because my energy was just overloaded. What I want to tell people is
you felt like shaky.
I was my crown chakra was huge.
Wow.
It was becoming more than I could handle because I was channeling too much energy for my body to manage for a long period of time.
Where did you see a crystal this big?
It was in Sedona.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
So it was
in Japan. There's specialty stores, and they're rarer than when I first moved to Japan, but they sold many things to deal with energy, but they had massive crystal balls that they would circulate on water. So there was a fountain under them, and these massively heavy balls would actually spin and rotate on this water. And that was for energy and concentration. And they were incredibly impressive. If you've never seen them, you have to imagine it's like a bowling ball on steroids.
Yeah.
A pure crystal. Some of them had veins and things, of course, but
yeah.
So let me put in a plug for Jose's in Lethbridge here. I went down there the other day. I was chatting with the ladies. and they said, oh, we think you need this crystal. So it's turquoise, and it's supposed to encourage my throat chakra to run at its optimal.
While you're singing.
Yeah.
Singing.
It can affect different parts of our body. The only thing I want to tell everybody is that you need to be careful, because crystals take in energy, and it doesn't matter whether it's good for you or bad for you. So sometimes you can get some difficult, congested energy in your crystal, and you need to clean it. And so some people just put it out in the sun and ask it to get cleaned. I ask my crystals what they like. I usually clean them in salt, but I ask them every time, and once in a while they'll tell me they like to be buried overnight and just let their dirty energy get absorbed by the earth. And so I'll do that when they tell me to. I have a lot of gratitude for the work that they do and the role that they play, and I make sure that I let them know. But the other thing that can be discerning is that if you have a lot of crystals in your bedroom and you're going to sleep, and it's making your crown chakra and your ajna chakra and your forehead chakra and your backhead chakra all huge, you don't want that when you're going to sleep. You want everything to be balanced and calm. So I tell people who want to have crystals in their bedroom, they either need to clean them regularly, but before they go to sleep, if they still want them in their room, to put some silk over them. Silk has a dampening effect on the crystal frequency.
Okay, so how about crystals you wear, Dan?
Yeah, same thing. If I tell my cancer patients, don't wear diamond rings, don't wear diamond earrings, don't wear any crystals or anything like that, because crystals don't discern between unhealthy cells and healthy cells. They're going to have an influence on both of them. And if you're fighting cancer, you don't want your unhealthy cells growing. You don't want anything on your body that's having a difficult time getting bigger.
Okay, so now, if you're healthy and you have crystals, like I wear this little multi-crystal type little wrist thing. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Bracelet. I think that bracelet, that's the word. Bracelet. So should I take that off at night? I leave it on all the time.
Yeah, you can leave it on. I would just clean it every once in a while.
Okay.
So you can clean it
just in the sun.
Leave it in the sun and ask the sun to clean it. I clean mine with alcohol solution if the crystal has the capability of take it. Not all crystals are good with water or other liquids. Some of them can't handle those. You can bury it overnight. If you're an energy healer, you can use divine electric violet light or divine energy, just channel it and clean it off. I've done that before.
Okay.
I've cleaned a lot of jewelry in my time. Some of it had some nasty stuff in it. So I don't want to make people paranoid, but it's something that you need to understand, because having those huge giant geodes, for example, I see lots of people have them in their home. They can get full of nasty, unwanted energies, and they need to be cleaned.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is shocking for me. I always thought of crystals as emanating energy, but never receiving energy. But you're saying they can receive energy, and they can absorb or receive negative energy. That's why they need the cleaning in order to resume their normal beneficial role for us.
Yes, crystals can receive and send energy. That's just like Scott said. It's not uncommon for us to use crystals to do that. We use crystals to focus energy. That's what lasers are. Right. So there's lots of applications. We just have to be aware of having an element of an element of carefulness about what it is that you're doing. There's some crystals, for example, like black tourmaline, that are used to absorb dirty negative energy. And I use them regularly to help people who are having a difficult time with external energies being directed towards them.
I think one of the things that's important to realize too is that there's some cultural bias that goes into this conversation that will turn some people off, and that's why you were just talking about crystals. I'm old enough to remember when all glasses were made out of glass, which is a crystalline structure. There I go. And that's not magic. That's not a big deal, right? Like computer chips, all these things. So one of the things we try and do on H3 is encourage things to have people look at things differently in different cultures. Like when I was in Japan, crystals were not necessarily considered new age. They were part of normal home life or health. And there does seem to be an attitude in North America that not just the Western medicine bias, but also this idea that we're supposed to deteriorate as we get older. And that's normal, right? Like I'm getting older, so the pain is normal and the deterioration is normal. And that's not true in all cultures.
No, it's not. And I think one of the most important thing that you've talked about is that we need to be open to all sorts of information, evaluate it, and determine how we can use it appropriately and practically for ourselves. Because some things might be incredibly helpful that's out there and we're just not listening to because of a bias. And how helpful would it be to learn good ways to detox, good ways to help strengthen yourself, good ways to be healthier? I'm open to anything.
Dan, I got to tell you, this is amazing to me, but we're more than a half hour already. Okay, don't go anywhere. We're going to end the broadcast though, okay? But don't go anywhere, Dan.
Okay.
Hey, and Jesse, stay with us, okay? No. Anyways, Scott, take us home.
Sorry, everyone. I was late. We're having a crazy night. From my very good friend, Alan Friesen, the acapellist, my new friend and one of our guests, Dan Erickson, and myself, Scott Sweetman. Thanks for joining us tonight. Keep an open mind and stay healthy. And come back and see us next week where we're going to finish up this conversation.
All right. Get him, Madsen.